Okay, today we're going to be covering the midpoint formula. The midpoint formula is a formula to find the middle of 2 points, 2 coordinate points. If you look at our example, the basic rule is you're given two endpoints or 2 points to a line, and you're trying to find the middle of those using the formula x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. All right, x and y are just coordinates on a graph. So if you look at the graph on the right, you'll see that there are 2 points. There's an A and a B, and then they also show the midpoint. Now, just a quick overview of how to find a coordinate. So the numbers that go with A and B. For A, since we're going to the right, our first value, our x, stands for the movement left or right from the center. So the center is right there. And the movement we take for our first value, our x value, is 1 to the right. So we move from here to there. Since we move just one space, we put a 1. And when I say one space, we move one space to get underneath A. And then to get the y value, that's the movement up or down. We're going to move from this spot where I just moved 1 to the right. We're going to move 1, 2, 3. So our y value is going to be 3. So our point there is 1, 3. All right, and then we would do the same thing to find the location, the numbers that go with B. All right, so for B it would be a movement of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, and only 1 up. All right. Now, if you're going left for the x value, that just means that you're moving in the negative direction. And if you're moving down for the y value, that just means you're moving in the negative direction for the y value. Okay. Looking at the next part, the next slide. Okay, so looking at our first example, we're given 2 points and we're asked to find the midpoint. So we're finding the middle of the point 3, 9 and the middle of 1, 1. So we're finding the midpoint between those two locations. All right, we're going to use the formula, again, x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So I'm going to start with labeling what my x1, y1 are. So my x1 is just 3, my y1 is 9. And then my x2 would have to be then the 1 in the second parentheses. And my y2 is the 1 in the second parentheses. So now I'm just going to add my x1 to my x2 and then divide it by 2. So I end up with 3 plus 1 divided by 2. Now if you put this in your calculator, be sure to put parentheses around the 3 plus 1. All right, so 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 ends up being 2. So that is our x value for our midpoint, the middle of those 2 points. So now we have to do the same thing for our y value. Our y values are 9 plus 1 divided by 2. So 9 plus 1 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. Okay, so our midpoint, and quite often we'll just use m as our midpoint, equals 2, 5. That's the middle of those 2 points. All right, so that's our final answer, m equals 2 comma 5. Let's look at the second example. All right, second example, again, we're given 2 points, and we're asked to find the middle of those two. So we're looking for the midpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and label them like I did last time. I have my x1, my y1, my x2, and my y2. And now I'm just going to go ahead and plug those values into the formula up here at the top. So we're going to plug them right into there. So we have negative 1 plus 12 divided by 2. So that's my x value. My y values are 5 plus negative 3 divided by 2. So now I basically have two parts to solve. For my x value, negative 1 plus 12 is 11 divided by 2. My y value, 5 plus negative 3, is positive 2 divided by 2. And then when I divide both those, I end up with 5.5, so it's a decimal, which is perfectly fine, and 1. So m equals 5.5 comma 1. That's my midpoint. And that's it. All right, example 3. In this example, they're not giving you values of the 2 points. They just put them on a graph, and they want you to come up with those values, those locations for x and y. All right, so, well, in this case, it's not x, it's m and n are our 2 points. So we're going to look at m first, and if we start from the center, so start from the middle, we're going to figure out what the x value would be for m. So it would move 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 4 because it went left. Negative 4 to the left for our x value for m. All right, and then for our y value, it's the movement down. So from the center or from this location that we just left off, we move 1 down. So that would be negative 1. So my m, the location on the graph, is negative 4, negative 1. All right, that's my first point. All right, to find the n, the second point, we're going to do the same thing. Start from the center. We're going to move 1 to the left, so that's negative 1 for the n. But then we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So negative 1, 4. That's my n value. All right, so now what we're going to do next is we're going to plug in both the values for m and n into our midpoint formula. So it's m equals, the first x is negative 4, plus the second x, which is negative 1, divided by 2. For the y values, the first y value is negative 1. The second y value is positive 4, divided by 2. All right, now we're going to do the math for both these fractions. We end up with negative 5 divided by 2 for the x. For the y, we end up with positive 3 divided by 2. And then when we divide those, we get a decimal for the first of negative 2.5. And then we get a decimal for the second of 1.5. And that's our answer. It's our final answer. Negative 2.5 and 1.5 is our midpoint of those two locations on the graph. All right, last example. Again, in this example, we're given a graph with 2 points A and B. And we're going to try to find the middle of those 2 points. Now we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to first identify the location of A and B by giving it numbers. So for A, we're going to start in the center, move 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, so that's -4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So -4, +4. That's for our first point. And it doesn't matter which one I choose to have as my first point or my second point. I just need to label what numbers those are. All right, and then for my point B, my second point, we don't move it all to the left or right. So that's going to be 0 movements to the left or right. But we do go 1 down, which would be -1. So 0, -1 is my second point, my point B. All right, now I need to take these numbers and plug them into our midpoint equation. So we have -4 plus 0 for my x values. That's the first number in each parenthesis, divided by 2. And 4 plus -1 for my second part there, my y values. And you can really just put these in your calculator. It ends up being -4 over 2 and +3 over 2. And our final answer is going to be -2 for the x value and 1.5 for the y value. All right, so that's the 2 ways we use midpoint. We use them by just giving 2 points, then we use it by having to find the 2 points on a graph. All right, we're going to look at this last part. I'm going to have you can pause the video and try these 2 problems on your own. Use the midpoint formula, use your prior examples, and then on the next section there's going to be the answers. So go ahead and pause it now.